Hello and welcome on the program. I am Patience Elangu, your host, and this is elmag. A reading of Section 26, Article 1 of the Electoral Code states that the Director General of Elections is responsible for the drawing up, managing, updating, and keeping of the voters' register as well as election documents and materials, inter alia, the publication of electoral registers and the issuing as well as the distribution of voters' cards. Just to name these. In that vein, Professor Tazwacha Songanye joins me to appraise some innovations announced by Muhammad Sani Tanimo on the configuration of electoral rolls and the use of biometric and information and communication technologies to process and publish these. Professor, you are welcome on the program.
It's a great pleasure.
In case you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Asongani is an election expert, an international election observer, and also one-time Secretary General of the Social Democratic Front. Prof, to set the stage for our interview, let's find out what's been making headline news in Elekam of late. Watch this.
Wednesday, August 14, 2013 was a day set aside by the Directorate General of Elections to hold the third semester meeting between regional delegates and top management. However, before the start of the meeting, the Director General of Elections in a press briefing made this groundbreaking announcement in the conference room of Hotel Azur in Yaoundé.
We have taken some measures. First, we have decided to produce electoral laws bearing voters' picture. Secondly, voters could consult through our website these rolls. Thirdly, we have decided to let our local branches to make a sort of competition in terms of organization of these elections.
Yes, in line with that declaration, the erstwhile lengthy rolls blackened with personal data of registered voters will henceforth bear pictures with special code numbers and will also be published on Elekam's website www.elekam.cm for private consultation by each registered potential voter. These measures and the dispatch by Elekam of vital voter information via SMSs on mobile phones, according to Dr. Thaddeus Menang, head of department in charge of electoral operations and referendums, aims at.
In the past, we were plagued by this problem of electoral rolls that were deemed not to be very reliable. With the introduction of biometric technology, we have sought to solve this problem of electoral rolls by ensuring that people come up themselves, register physically, we take their pictures, we take their fingerprints, and at the end, we put them into the central system, and it enables us to cross-check to make sure that people are not registered more than once. We have a system that enables us to sort out duplicates and to eliminate them, which is the main advantage that this system offers us. After that, we are able to produce electoral rolls that are definitely more reliable than anything we have seen in this country before. These electoral rolls will be available at every polling station. You have had samples of them shown to you by the Director General himself. Copies of the electoral roll will be available at the polling station on which voters will sign and put their thumbprints after they have voted.
Prof, I begin by asking you, what is an electoral roll or a voter register?
A voter register is a register of the names of those who qualify to vote, who willingly came forward to put their names in the electoral register. The names are usually organized in polling stations so that they can easily be verified and somebody finds his or her name. The register is supposed to be easily accessible, quite accessible to the voters and to the general population.
Well, as an election observer who's worked for the African Union, the Jimmy Carter Foundation, and the National Democratic Institute, all based in the United States of America, what's your take of the use of biometric technology in the constitution of voters' rolls and the inclusion of voters' pictures on polling station rolls, as the case is in Cameroon right now?
Yeah, the biometric system of registering voters allows that pictures should appear in the electoral roll, appear in the biometric voters card, and so on, so that the voters, many voters cannot use the same identity to be registered. So the voters register and pictures is really the norm of biometric system registration. The only shortcoming of ELECAM was that they didn't insist that the law should be modified to allow them to give out the voters' cards as they registered the voters, because that was possible. That is what obtains in other countries, and that was supposed to obtain here in Cameroon. The result is that we shall end up with what we usually had about the biometric system: piles of cards in polling stations uncollected by voters.
Professor, what would you say about ELECAM's initiative to post electoral rolls for consultation on its website?
Well, it's a positive development. I do hope that voters are having access to it, especially civil society, that should continuously put pressure on ELECAM, put pressure on all stakeholders to ensure that the electoral process meets the standards. So I think making the voter registers available on the ELECAM website is a positive development. You know that in the past, MINAT said that it puts its role on the voters' role on the website, but it was not accessible. It was not really well done. I have not seen that of ELECAM yet, consulted that of ELECAM yet, but I guess that it should be different.
What's your appreciation of ELECAM's use of short texts or SMSs via phones to inform each registered voter on where to collect their cards and the location of their polling centers?
Also a very positive development. The only proviso is that not every voter has a phone. And if they have a phone, they are not likely to be able to read text messages. I do not think that ELECAM can succeed to reach every voter by phone or by that text message. But I guess that the people who are stakeholders in the organization of elections, like political parties and civil society, will also cover the gaps that will exist.
Absolutely. Talking about short text messages calling on potential voters to go collect their voter cards, I want to find out, Prof, are you registered?
Yes, I am registered.
And have you withdrawn your voter's card yet?
But I've not yet collected my card, mainly because the receipt that I was given was misplaced. But since I registered in the ELECAM offices in ESOS, I'll walk there with my identity card, and I'm sure that they'll easily find my voter's card. I registered on the last day.
So you haven't had a chance to appreciate a voter card yet? You haven't seen it?
No, I have seen it with other people. I've written about it, so I have seen it with other people.
What do you think?
It looks good with the barcode, with a lot of your polling station, information on it, your registration, serial number on it, and so on.
Well, that said, Professor, permit me to take you therefore to the Southwest region, where several proximity communication strategies like the use of mobile vans and megaphones have been put in place to inform people to go get their cards. Over to you, Moki.
With just about 5 weeks left to the September 30, 2013 twin elections, and with about 34% of voters' cards still left to be distributed in the Southwest region, the ELECAM staff members have been engaged in a more rigorous technique to speed up the distribution exercise. Various council branches have drawn up mobile distribution calendars and have communicated such calendars to leaders of participating political parties in the upcoming elections to mobilize their supporters for cards collection. During field work, they also use megaphones to sensitize electors of various distribution points they have set up in villages and neighborhoods in big towns. This approach is now mobilizing hundreds of electors to collect their voters' cards. Though Section 85 of the Electoral Code provides voters the possibility to collect their voters' cards during the polls, they insist electors should collect their cards ahead of time to avoid any queues on the day of election. I am Moki Stephen Mokondo reporting from Boya.
Welcome back, Professor. Well, it would appear from that report that despite the several strategies ELECAM has put in place to facilitate the distribution of cards, some citizens still allege the withdrawal process takes too much time and wonder aloud if the cards are worth the wait. You know what? In response to those misgivings, ladies and gentlemen, we asked Beatrice Animbo Munju, National Communications Secretary for the Social Democratic Front, to share her experience. Yes, what she had to say.
To withdraw my card, it was easy for me because I think where I registered in Kejomkeku in Liu, immediately I walked in, my name starts with A, it was easy for me to pick up my card. But what surprised me in the whole exercise is that there were some persons who registered on that same day as myself who did not find their cards. So I don't know how the cards were done. Some came out and some didn't. I also want to add that in the ELECAM office in Sonak Street, particularly in Bamenda, I actually saw her card. I picked it up, and when I said, this card is for my mom, the lady took it back from me and told me that, no, we can't give it to you. You must go and get an authorization from your mom to collect her card. I gave all the excuses in this world you can think of. She said no. So I went back home, brought a letter signed by my mother authorizing me to pick up her card. But unfortunately, she said to me, you must go and have this letter legalized. That is what killed me. I said, I cannot understand. I tried to explain. I told her that I'm a partner with you in this business. I'm going to be a voter. It will mean nothing to you on a polling day that you have cards surrounded here that nobody has picked up. And she said, Madam, go and get your letter legalized. So I will have to go and take my mom and let her collect her cards.
I've been longing to ask you this. If you were Director General of Elections, how would you ameliorate the electoral process?
No, the misfortune is that the elections Cameroon, when they were put in place, they just got into business with all what they found in place. Now, they didn't ask the executive to do anything. They didn't ask the legislature to do anything. If I were in charge of ELECAM, the person who caused movement in ELECAM, I wouldn't have jumped into activity until I ensured that what the law says we should do, we'll be able to do. The law says that ELECAM will organize free and fair elections. And so they were supposed to make demands to the legislative arm of government, to the executive arm of government, to carry out certain activities before they really entered into function. Now you see that the excuse along the road is always that where the law says that, the law says that. So if I were in charge of ELECAM, I would have met these demands and stuck by them until they were met before I would get into play.
Well, Professor, it's been a real pleasure having you on the program.
It's a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure.
Before you go, I am asking you and other registered potential voters to remember to visit ELECAM's website, www.elecam.cm. Once at the homepage, click on the link, check your registration online. Enter either your national identity card number as the case may be, or your registration number taken from your registration receipt, as would be the case with your professor. Once that is done, ensure that other data requested is filled and verified, and then get all the details about your registration and your polling. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.